ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव वसिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
ॐ ईशावास्यमिदगो सर्वं यत्किञ्च जगत्यां जगत् तेन त्यक्तेन भुञ्जीथा मागृधस्य सिद्धनम् कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि जिजीविषे शतगुं समाः एवं त्वयि नान्यते तोऽस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे असूर्यार्नामते लोका अन्धेन तमसा वृथाः तागुंस्ते प्रेत्या विगच्छन्ति ये केशात् महनो जनाः अनेजदेकं मनसो जदीयो नैनद्देवा आप्नुवन् पूर्वमर्षत् तद्भावतो ज्ञानतेति तिष्ठत् तस्मिन् नपो मातरिष्वा दधाति तदेजति तन्नैजति तद्दूरे तद्वन्तिके तदन्तरस्य सर्वस्य तदु सर्वस्यास्य वास्यतः
Clarification. The context. If we don't do a deep Mimamsa study of scripture, then the knowledge gained is only utilitarian in nature. Okay. How do we do a deep Mimamsa study of scripture? How do we do deep Mimamsa study of any subject? How should we as students study for the Īśāvāsyopaniṣad class? Please give us step by step. There are 6-7 questions in the same thing. So I'll take it up one by one. Break up pannidunga. First thing. I said you need to do the Mima. There's a unique style of reading the scripture which we call as Mimamsa. Now the Vedas themselves, this Veda Purva, Veda Anta and all is the terminologies that came into practice in the last maybe 800,000 years. The original name of it will be called Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. It means there is one common word to both, Mimamsa. Now what is the word Mimamsa itself first? Veda came to us as knowledge. Now you read it, you will not understand anything. It means it has to be understood, it has to be decoded so that you understand what they are saying. Are you okay till now? Who will you go and ask? Because Veda itself is called Apaurusheya. Paurusheya means not a product of human intelligence. If it is not a product of human intelligence, who will you go and ask for explanation? Therefore, the Purva Mimamsa became a very rigorous science of reading the Veda. Now, the principles that Purva Mimamsa uses is what Vedanta also liberally uses. And over a period of time, Vedanta started claiming it as its method. Actually, it's not the method of the Veda Anta. Because Veda Anta, the Uttara Mimamsa makes statements. They don't care about elaborations and explanations. Later books will do that. Now, when the later books do that, they need a principle. Now, where did they borrow that principle from? They borrowed the principle purely the analytical methods that is used by Purva Mimamsa. Now, the Purva Mimamsa uses the Vedic method for understanding dharma and karma. Uttara Mimamsa, Veda Anta will use the analytical method to understand Mahavakyas. Methodology is the same. Remember the difference. Purva Mimamsa would want to know the meaning of dharma, karma, etc. Because it wanted to know the dharma, karma, etc., the whole vast body of knowledge we got about dharma, about karma yoga, etc. All that came from that. Now, the same analytical method that that Mimamsa used for understanding dharma and karma, Veda Anta would use it to decipher Mahavakyas. Here, what are we going to do? That's what I said in the beginning. We will use that Mimamsa method. Now, where do we go and study Mimamsa method? You can't go anywhere and study. Or you can go and study. It's not that you can't go and study. You can go and study. But by the time you finish that study, 2 janmas will go. Independently, you cannot do. Why? Because all this, it is like wanting to learn alphabets in the... You can't learn alphabets at the fag end of the life, isn't it? But then we are saying, why do we still quote all this? We quote all this only to say that there is an established method. Not for you to go and learn it by yourself. Where can you go? Maybe you can ask ChatGPT, I don't know. Maybe ChatGPT may help, I don't know. Some Google search may help, I don't know. I don't do all that anyway, so I really don't understand. But nevertheless, what is Mimamsa? A rigorous science of wanting to know the meaning of Veda, because it is Apaurusheya. If it is Paurusheya, you can go and ask the man who wrote. If it is human intelligence, you can go and ask the person, you said this, no, what do you mean? And if he says it is Apaurusheya, now where will you go? Because they say we are not mantra kartas, we are mantra drashtas. They say we didn't create it, it got revealed to us. Now, revealed means what? Were you hallucinating? Because were you hallucinating and called it as revelation? Or how did it happen? Vedas evolved a beautiful method. That method is called Mimamsa. And also I told you in brief, how are we going to do it? I'm not going to take Mimamsa classes. Amit. I'm not going to take Mimamsa classes, then you'll ask me to take grammar classes. First I'll do Mimamsa classes, then I'll do grammar class, sir, it's all that is impractical, sir, it won't work out. The end conclusion that everybody will come to and tell me is, sir, all this is, what is the use of all this at the end of the day? Because our approach is utilitarian. We are not seekers of knowledge. We are seekers of utility of knowledge. But then sometimes we need to seek knowledge for its own sake, without bothering about the utility also. Now in this, and when you study Upanishad and all, you can't have a utilitarian approach. Therefore, I wanted to shift your thinking process. That's all. But I'm not going to the details of the Mimamsa process and all that. The very basic rules of thinking is Mimamsa. Not rules of thinking as in inductive logic, deductive logic and all that which the which the modern day science talks about reasoning. Here, thinking, reasoning only to understand the meaning of the Vedic words. It means the Vedic sentences itself is divided into a few. How do we divide the Vedic sentences? First thing is a vidhi. Vidhi means, is it saying as a law? Like for example, mantra number 2, Īśāvāsyopaniṣad. Kuruvanne veha karmani, kuruvanne iha, do. There we call it as injunction, vidhi. Tatra ko shokaha ka mohaha na vijugupsate. That's called nisheda, prohibiting. So when we take the word, we want to understand wherever it is said as a vidhi, we would call it as a law, law, law. We keep saying, no, Vedanta is the law of life and living, the laws of life and living. Where do we get it from? How do we say it? Ram Tirtha keeps on saying, it's a law, it's a law, it's a law. We have heard it any number of times. Swamiji keeps saying, it's a law, it's a law, it's a law. How do we derive it? How did they derive it as a law? Because first thing is vidhi. Second thing is nisheda. Second thing is nisheda means it should prohibit you from doing something. One kind of statement should tell you what to do. Another kind of statement should tell you what not to do. Second thing, the third thing is arthavada. Arthavada means a statement that supports a vidhi, a law, but by itself doesn't become a law. That's where we say most of the time where you glorify, criticize, explain, all these teaching methods comes under arthavada. Because you have to take a vidhi and do all this. It's mathematics at it is mathematics at a different level. It is. But then, sir, I'm very confused about basic addition and subtraction. Only now, what do we do? When you're very confused about multiplication and division, only what do we do? But then it's a very beautiful mathematics. That's not that complicated, because this is how, when you receive a command from the guru, because the statement from the statement from the Veda, the statement from the guru and all has to be understood rightly. Because they are not going to sit and explain. They make and they leave. Saturday class, Sunday class, Wednesday class and all, they don't do. Class after class, text after text, they don't have time for all that. They make statements and they go very, very unhelpful there. Actually, they are not very unhelpful. That is the actual way to help. What we are doing here is time pass. Some entertainment, some time pass. So beautiful methodology it is. So first is vidhi. Second is nisheda. The third is arthavada. Arthavada means you praise. You want to glorify something. As we go along the mantras, I'll be explaining all these things. Where it is being praised. Sometimes it will be criticized, censured. Sometimes explanation will be given. Arthavada. All the attributes of Brahman is called Arthavada. Nirguno, Nishkriyo, Nityo, Satchitananda, all this will be called as Arthavada, because all these are explanations. Sometimes story. That's why we say Arthavada will not be given the status of a law, vidhi. So Arthavada is subsidiary to the vidhi. Now, most of the time what happens, the Arthavada, the glorification, we get carried away and we take it as a vidhi. That's why for clearer thinking, we should say, no, this is Arthavada statement. It should not be given the status of the law. Then comes the mantra. Here, when we say mantra, what we mean by mantra here is the intonational support. For all these things, we also take the intonational support. This is one basic principle of Mimamsa study. Second fundamental principle, I'm only going to give these two, and don't ask any further explanations on all these things. Wait for the entire Upanishad to get over. Because I'll be taking somewhere, wherever context required, I'm going to take it up and explain. But nevertheless, I'll give you the basic framework. The 6 glorified, celebrated indicators of Mimamsa. Beautiful it is. Number 1, it is called Upakrama, Upasamhara. Upakrama, Upasamhara means the beginning and the conclusion should align. Purnamada, Purnamidam, if it is the beginning, the Īśāvāsyopaniṣad last mantra should align with it. Upakrama and Upasamhara. You can't start with something and end up somewhere else. That's why we say the conclusion, the beginning and the conclusion should align. First principle. When we read a book also, we look for these 6 indicators. When we read an article, when we study a research article, when we do thesis, we do all these things. And we give that much of value to the Upanishads. Now, today for us, philosophy means morals and ethics, little bit of ethics here, little bits of morals here, little bit of do's and don'ts, little bit of solving our problems, and we are happy. But Upanishads don't take it that way. Upanishads takes it very seriously. The 6 celebrated things. The first one is called Upakrama, Upasamhara. Upakrama, Upasamhara means the beginning and the conclusion should align. You can't start with Purnamada, Purnamidam and the book meanders and concludes something else. Second one is Abhyasa. Abhyasa means it should repeat a lot to emphasize. In the book Vedanta Treatise, you will find repetition a lot. People come and say, why it is repeated again and again and again? Will you ever go to a movie and ask why the same theme is repeated again and again and again? Will you ever ask that? In all movies, climax is known. Correct? Is there any new climax that can come in a movie? In all movies, climax is known. What is it? Satyameva Jayate. Nanrutam. That is the climax in all movies. Is there anything else? But then why? But then repetition signals emphasis. That's why another important aspect of it is abhyasa, repetition. And when you are repeating, you need to know how to repeat it in various ways, not in the same parroting. Repetition as in repetition by various methods of analysis. So various angles you have to bring it to repeat. Second beautiful Upakrama Upasamhara is number 1. Number 2 is Abhyasa. The third thing is Apurvata. Apurvata means the text should tell you something which is genuinely new. How do you say that? That's where we say each and every Upanishad follows this Apurvata also. How does it follow? Īśāvāsyopaniṣad will say Purnam. Kenopanishad will say Tadvanam. So Apurvata. Apurvata means something unique also it should say. Supposing if there is nothing unique at all, there is already a book, it is copying from that book. Why do you have to copy when there is a book? So the third factor is it should say something Apurvata, genuinely new. The fourth one it should describe is the phala. Fourth thing that should describe is the phala. The phala means what is the primary result you will get, what is the secondary result you will get. the primary result. What will you get as the primary result? What will you get as a secondary result? Okay. What is the primary result of studying Vedanta? We have heard any number of times in the introduction. The primary result of studying Vedanta is self-discovery. What is the secondary result of studying Vedanta? Mental peace and material prosperity. So the book has to talk about that also. Because why do they have to talk about the phala, the result? Because when you go to buy a product, it should tell you what it is, no? What it can be used for, how it should be used, what is the benefit of this. Then only you will buy. Now all this method is to make us understand the Veda, convince us about the importance of Veda. Now, if the importance has to be conveyed, the phala has to be described. What is the phala? The primary meaning, the primary result and the secondary result. What is the primary result? The primary result is self-discovery. Who am I? You will understand that. Okay, what is the secondary result? Mental peace and material prosperity. I will give you yoga, I will give you kshema. Yoga kshemam vahamiham. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tva sarva papebhya mokshayishyami ma shuchaka. So you find all of them talking about the phala. 4 things I covered. Is there anybody making a note? 4 things I covered. Correct? 4 things I covered. Okay. Somebody volunteer. Yeah, no, sir. Somebody should volunteer. Otherwise, I won't. Unmute lam panna matom. Just keep typing. That's all. So 4 things. Upakrama upasamhara, abhyasa, purvata, phala. The 5th one is arthavada. Arthavada, we already saw what it is. That should come as a very important meaning. What is arthavada? You have a main idea. You want to convey an idea. You need to explain all the possible angles of your idea, and also you should be able to explain clear all the doubts that will come with it, and also you need to explain any other siddhanta opposite to it is wrong. That's why Bhashyas follow this Arthavada a lot. Therefore, you will say, this person comes and says this is the answer. This Purva Paksha, answer. Purva Pakshi, answer. Purva Pakshi, answer. Purva Pakshi, answer. Beyond a point, at the end of the second paragraph, you will be lost completely, not even knowing who is that person objecting. And who is that person objecting? Somebody will be from a Purva Mimamsa objection. Somebody will be from a Dvaita objection. Somebody will from the Visishta Dvaita objection. Now, all these various viewpoints are taken and explained. So it means you have to establish your viewpoints, answer the questions, and also take the counter viewpoints and prove them as wrong. One of the glorious things that people from all traditions have a value for Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya so much is because they say the way in which he summarizes our Siddhanta in Purva Paksha, even we won't know how to do it, they say. Shankaracharya will take all the opponent viewpoints and summarize it, and then he gives his own answer. Now we follow that style a lot here. That style. 6th one is Upapatti. Upapatti means just the logic and reason that you give to support your idea. All this methodology we will take up when we study Purnam. When we take the word Purnam, we will study this. When we take the word Isha, we will study this. When we take the word Kuruvan Neveha Karmani, we will do all this. When we go to the Andam Tamaf Pravishanti, we will try to understand what is meant there. You follow? So this is the very basic framework. Amit. This is called Arthavada showing off. From this Arthavada showing off and all, you don't ask questions. Simply the man is showing off what all he knows. Just to impress you, I am showing off something. Why are you asking clarifications from all that I am saying to show off? Next clarification. That's all, no? Why aren't we studying all scripture Mimamsa style if superficial studying of it only has a utilitarian value? Answer. Amit is asking why we don't study all books as Mimamsa style. All my classes is Mimamsa style. I never say it. In the Īśāvāsyopaniṣad, I got a context to say it. For example, take the 12th chapter. Progressive steps. Abhyasa. I take the word Abhyasa. Now, how do we derive those meanings? Is it because somebody's, is it because that's how I see it, or that's what it is meant? So all the classes, even a book like Fall of Human Intellect, I give it the status of the Upanishad and elaborate each and everything so deeply. So all the books, be it Atmabodha, be it Bhajagovindam, be it Bhagavad Gita, be it Upanishad, Fall of Human Intellect, I take that method of analysis only. Here, I said it directly. There, I will not say it directly. That's the only difference. You follow? And superficial way of studying, teaching doesn't work out. Why aren't we reading all scriptures? All scriptures are read in this manner only, in the way that we explain it in the class. You follow what I'm saying, Amit? It's the same thing, same methodology is the same. Next one. What are the indicators we are deep studying scripture correctly? What are the indicators that we are studying the scriptures correctly? The first indicator of reading the scripture rightly is confusion. The first indicator, confusion is the first indicator. Clarity is not the first indicator. Confusion is the first indicator. Second indicator is question. Out of confusion, naturally, questioning will come. 3, you employ your methods of reasoning and try to come to some understanding. And the understanding that you come to, your interpretation will be more satisfying than the interpretation of Shankaracharya or anybody. So you have the humility to say, what I have understood is not what it is. Are you able to follow? What I have understood is not what it is. Therefore, what do you do? The next step, has it brought about an inner transformation? Has it brought about an inner transformation? What are the indicators of inner transformation that we have studied so many times in all the classes? The frequency, the intensity, the recovery time, all that we have studied already. Now, if all this is not happening, it means you need to go back into the sadhanas deeper and deeper. These are all the indicators that you are reading the scriptures rightly. You follow? Now we'll go to Purnam. Now we'll study the word Purnamada, not the word, the mantra. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadhaya, Purnameva Vasishyate. And we said last week that it's a very simple, straightforward. It's a very simple, straightforward mantra. Purnam adaha idam. Split the mantra now. Purnam, Purnam adaha, Purnam idam. So wherever the word Purnam keeps coming, we say Purnam. And then Purnam adaha, and then Purnam idam. Purnat Purnam udachyate. Purnasya Purnam adaya Purnameva avasishyate. And then you find three verbs. What are the three verbs there indicating something? Udachyate, adaya, avasishyate. Purnamada, Purnamidam. So now, how much we have got now? Purnam, we got. Adaha, we got. Idam, we got. And then what are we going to have? Udachyate, adaya, avasishyate. And then there is one thing for emphasis again. That's why the word Purnam keeps coming as an emphasis. Now you know what is that Mimamsa way of reading this mantra is. What are the action things that is spoken about here? Udachyate, adaya, avasishyate. We will come to it later. First, what we will read, what is Purnam means. And then we will read what is adaha means, and then what is idam means. So generally what do we do? Wherever the pronoun comes first, we'll start with the understanding we'll start with wanting to read the pronoun. The classic Vedic style, Vedantic style is the pronoun. Where are we familiar with the pronouns being used? Tat, tvam. That adaha and idam is very similar to tat and tvam. Are you able to connect now? That's why we use and there is a whole lot of study that goes into this tat and tvam, etc. Here we are going to do the same study with reference to adaha, and we are doing the same thing with reference to adaha and first thing, Purnam. Purnam, what is the meaning of Purnam? That we said already. Purnam means whole, full, complete, infinite. A sense of not lacking anything. That's a derivative application meaning. The application derivative meaning that you can use it for yourself is what? A sense of not lacking anything. Now, in the case of us, we always feel we lack something. Apurnam, it's called. So we always feel we lack something. Purnam means a sense of not lacking in anything, which is whole, which is complete, which is full. Anything that is full, whole, complete, perfect. Distinct and different from this is Apurnam. We are not going to talk about Apurnam now. What is Purnam? That which fills everything, that which pervades everything. Therefore, Purnam equals Anantam. So the first meaning of Purnam, the first understanding of the word Purnam, we conclude as Anantam, infinite. So instead of using the word infinite, the word whole is used. That is whole, this is whole. So Purnam equals Anantam. Then comes the word Adaha. And then Idam. Adaha means that. Idam means this. That which indicates which is far away from you. This that indicates which is closer to you. Correct? Whenever we say that and this, that indicates which is farther from you. This indicates which is. If there is a glass of water on the table away from me, I say get that. I will not say get this, isn't it? This means which is closer to you. Now, what is closer? So what is that means in the classic Vedantic sense? That in the classic Vedantic sense means Brahman. This in the classic Vedantic sense means the individual. In the English word, we use the word, in English, we use the word individual. In Sanskrit, we use the word jiva. In English, we call it as individual. In Sanskrit, we use the word jiva. So, that indicates Brahman. This indicates jiva, and both are, what is said? Both are Purnam. Both are said Purnam. Therefore, the Upanishad starts itself with a statement of revelation, which is the Mahavakya itself. Purnamada, Purnamidam is another way of saying Tattvamasi. It's a Mahavakya. And no Upanishad starts in the Mahavakya invocation. The Īśāvāsya invocation itself starts with the Mahavakya. Are you able to understand how Tattvamasi and Purnamada, Purnamidam is one and the same? Therefore, when I heard the discourse on Purnamada, Purnamidam for 10 days, still we felt much more could have been said about that. Because you take a Mahavakya, how much ever you say about it, you can still say so much about it. Are you able to follow? That is Purnam. Correct. It's easy to understand that. How can you say this is Purnam? Because when you look at this, it's full of Apurnam, isn't it? When you look at this, it is full of Purnam. And then how the Upanishad is saying that is Purnam is not difficult to explain at all. But the challenge comes is, how do we say this is Purnam? When you look at this, if you look at the Upadhi of this, the nature of the Upadhis, the nature of the instrument is Apurnam. Now the Jiva, Mahavakya means Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikya. Mahavakya should say how the two is one. That's called Mahavakya. Correct? The meaning of Mahavakya is the two should be one. So Purnamada Purnamidam is the Mahavakya. Now how do we say this Jiva is Purnam? Because when I look at myself, I'm seeing only Apurnam. I always feel I lack something. What I lack, I want. Isn't it? I always feel like I lack something first. And then second, whatever I lack, I want. Assuming that if I get it from Apurnam, I will become Purnam. Yeah. Vijayarangan. Purnamna Tenga Purnam Madri இருக்குது, isn't it? You know that the Kolkata thing they make, no? Now what do we do? How do we say this Jiva is Purnam? It means we dissect the Jiva. We split the Jiva into two. How do we split the Jiva into two? The instrument and that which is distinct and different from the instrument. And then we ask this question, can the instrument be Purnam? By definition, the instruments can never be Purnam. Because instrument means a limitation, a specific function. Correct? What is the meaning of instrument means? Instrument means that which has a which has a limitation. What is the limitation? The specific function that it does is the limitation of the instrument. Eyes can see. Eye is an instrument. Why? Because eye can see. Even when the eye sees, it sees only in a spectrum, what we call as Vygoeric spectrum. So anything before that, after that, it cannot see. Therefore, by definition, it is very clear that the instruments are not Purnam. Because none of the definition of Purnam fits in for the instruments. Because it is not all pervading, it doesn't have infinite capability, etc. Therefore, by definition, the instruments are not. By definition, the instruments can never become Purnam. How to be happy and satisfied all the time, sir? It's like the eyes saying, how can I see everything? Is it possible? Similarly, the mind is saying, how to be happy? How to be happy? I just want to be happy all the time, sir. How? How to be happy? What is the answer you get from here? What is the answer you get from here? Mind cannot be happy all the time. If the mind cannot be happy all the time, mind cannot be in sorrow also all the time. It means it will be fluctuating between joy and sorrow, joy and sorrow, joy and sorrow. And the very fluctuation of joy and sorrow is a function of the mind, which is the limitation of the mind. Therefore, mind is not Purnam. Are you able to follow how we are analyzing it and eliminating? So the body, the senses is not Purnam, that is eliminated. The nature of the mind is not Purnam, that is eliminated. And then the third instrument, the Buddhi, the intellect. What is the Buddhi? The Buddhi, just as the mind wants to be happy all the time, which we call as greed, the Buddhi also has a greed. What is the greed of the Buddhi? The greed of the Buddhi, it assumes it's all-knowing. It wants to become all-knowing. If anybody says you don't know this, you'll get very angry, upset. அதுக்குதான் GD எல்லாம் போகணுன்றது இல்லையா? I don't know when murder is going to happen in group discussion. Murder is going to happen there. I don't know when only. I'm only waiting for the end result of it is murder. That much is known. But when only is my joy is coming from when? When and who? Narayanji. When and who? That's all it is. Why? Because the Buddhi, all-knowing, all-knowing. No, this is not the whole of that, isn't it? Entertainment. Entertainment it is. All-knowing. So what is the problem of the Buddhi? The problem of the Buddhi is it wants to establish that it knows everything and what it knows is flawless, correct. Can the Buddhi do that? Then the sage was doing tapas to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva came and said, what do you want? I want 1,000 years of lifetime. He said, why? Because I have not even finished studying my Shaka. All of us are born into a Gotra, a Shaka of the Veda. I have not even studied that. I want to study. He said, okay, 1,000 years. Another 1,000 years. Another 1,000 years. 3,000 years God gave. Again, fourth time he asked, another 1,000 years. He said, for what? I want to study the Veda. Wanting to study the Veda means all-knowing. As a Buddhi, I want to be all-knowing. As an instrument, the Buddhi wants to be all-knowing. Shiva said, come. Took him to the beach. Can you count the grains of sand here? Even that is possible, but all-knowing is impossible. Therefore, the buddhi can never become Purnam, the mind can never become Purnam, the senses are never Purnam. Therefore, when we say Purnam Idam, one part of the jiva by definition will be Apurnam only. Are you able to follow? Then what is the other part of the jiva? What is the other part of the jiva? There is the other part of the jiva which we call as Chaitanyam. In English, it's called enlivener. So the enlivener of the instruments is Purnam. The instruments is not Purnam. It means there is no difference between that Purnam and this Purnam. Are you able to follow? That means Brahman and this means the consciousness that enlivens the various shariras, the various jivas and the original consciousness, both are Purnam, same. And then what is Aikyam means? Aikyam means you need to necessarily understand you are that consciousness. Whatever explains these 2-3 factors will be called as Mahavakya. Are you okay till now? Purnamada, Purnamidam is a it's a Mahavakya. Every Upanishad I do, I keep explaining. Wherever there is Mahavakyas, we all know the famous 4 Mahavakyas. But Mahavakyas are not only 4. There are hundreds of Mahavakyas all over the Upanishads. We need to know how to extract it. And once you know how to extract one Mahavakya, you will know how to extract all Mahavakyas. Because the methodology, the methodology they repeat is the same. So, Purnam as in whole, full, all-pervading. Now, whole, full, all-pervading, not lacking in anything, all this put together in one word, we call it as consciousness. Consciousness in Sanskrit is called Chit. Chit means Chaitanya, it is. Chit means Chaitanya. What is that which is, how does Idam is Purnam? If we establish something in that Idam is permanent, then you can establish how this is also Purnam. Are you able to follow what I'm saying now? If something in if something in the Idam is established as Purnam, then you are intellectually convinced at least to start with. What? Purnamada, Purnamidam. Now, what is this Idam? First thing is existence. Jiva must have an existence. Correct? The stone exists, the tree exists, the animal exists, the plant exists, the human exists, Deva exists, Rakshasa exists. So existence is something which is common to everything. That existence is the Sat. That existence is the Sat. In English, it will be called as isness. In English, it is translated as isness. So Sat, which is common to everything. Even though there are various things that keeps changing at the superficial layer, the isness doesn't change. Therefore, the isness is Sat. Purnam it is. The Namarupa modifications doesn't affect the fundamental isness. Correct? Take a simple example. The tree, the wood, the table, the ash. You burn the table. For all the tree, the wood, the table, the ash, all four Namarupa wise, they are different. In names and forms, all four are different. In and through the four different names and forms, something is common to all that. What? The tree is, the wood is, the table is, the ash is. That which makes it called as is. In a very totality way, it will be called as isness. That isness is Sat. What is that isness? That isness is Purnam or Apurnam? If I were to ask you, what would you say? The Sat part of Jiva, is it Purnam or Apurnam? The Namarupa part of it is Apurnam, which we already established. Now we are establishing the Purnam part of the Jiva. Sat is Purnam because the isness doesn't. We say some distance planet, some weird astronomical numbers, they will say, and is. Correct? There is some distant planet somewhere existing. What would they say when they talk about it? That planet is. Okay. Is there a difference of the isness here and the isness of the distant planet? In the isness, is there a difference? Huh? There's no difference. Number two, the isness at any given point in time can be everywhere. Therefore, it becomes all pervading. The isness at any given point in time can be everywhere. Therefore, that isness becomes Purnam, all pervading. Then the second thing is, how does everything exist? Everything exists in interacting with each other. Everything exists in a dynamic interaction with each other. It means they just don't exist. Interaction implies awareness, consciousness. If two are interacting with each other, it means both has to be a conscious entity. No. Can inert entity interact with each other? Can there be a dynamic interaction of inertness by itself? Therefore, the inert, so the interaction itself is because of the consciousness, the chit, and the chit at any given point in time is everywhere. Are you able to follow? The Sat is Purnam, the Chit is Purnam. The third factor is what? Ananda. Ananda means the instruments by nature will function in limitation. In and through the limitation, Anandam here is not excitement. Anandam here is not happiness. Anandam means the equilibrium, the stability, the balance with which everything is functioning. Okay, except the human mind. Yeah, that's a different story altogether. Except the human mind, there is a beautiful balance. It is a human mind that goes through this, that goes through these fluctuations, and that we have already seen it as nature of the mind. When we say idam is purnam, which part of idam is purnam? By mistake, we try to make the instruments part as purnam. All human efforts trying to make the instrument part of it as purnam is bound to fail. That's why we come and say, even though science has made a tremendous contribution to life, the end result of it will still be misery only. Tremendous contribution, benefit it has made, the end result will be pain and misery only. Why? Because it is trying to give the Purnatvam status to the instrument. What is the Purnatvam status to the instrument? Over a period of time, the joints become weak, replace the joint. After a period of time, the teeth falls, replace the teeth. The hair falls, replace the hair. The heart fails, replace the heart. So a time will come where each and every body part can be replaced. It means every time you replace, what are you expecting? So a time will come where you can go on replacing the parts and the person can live for ever. Wow. How wonderful it will be, sir. No. The nature of instruments is such that it is limitations, and the limitations can never ever be conquered. You can temporarily postpone it. The temporary postponing is not conquering. One. Number two, even if you temporarily postpone, the postponement also will come with its own misery, isn't it? The postponing itself also will come with its own misery. Therefore, when we say Purnam Idam, it gives you such a wonderful clarity of the nature of the instruments, and the nature of the instruments are limited. And if you are wise, what will you do? Okay, wisdom means understanding the nature as it is, no? You understand the nature of the cobra. Do you have a problem with it? You understand the nature of the lion. Will you have a problem with it? Even if the lion is on the other side of the fence, you will not put your hand inside the fence, no, and pat the lion, would you? If you do that, you have not understood the nature, that's all, isn't it? Therefore, now understanding the nature will give you an equanimity. Similarly, if you understand the nature of the instruments, you will be equanimous straight away. Idam. You will not try to give the Purnam status to the instrument. But then there is another part of the Purnam. What is the other part of the Purnam? Sorry, the Jiva, the Satchit Ananda, the enlivener, the consciousness, the Brahman. Therefore, the Brahman, as though there is outside, and then there is Brahman as though there is inside, both are one and the same. That is why in relation to the totality, the consciousness will be called as Brahman. In relation to the individual, the same consciousness will be called as Atman. And then another Upanishad takes up and says how Atman and Brahman is one and the same. And to explain how Atman and Brahman is one and the same, it takes the example of pot space and total space. By taking the example of the pot space and the total space, it says both are one and the same. Therefore, first thing we have understood is what? Purnamada, Purnam, Idam. That is Purnam. This is Purnam. This is technical way of analyzing. After explaining all this, we'll be completely lost, not knowing what to do with all these things now. Therefore, we give some understandable ways of explaining. What is the understandable ways of explaining? The understandable ways of explaining Purnam is, first example, lighting candles from the flame of a single candle. When you light candles, thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle. Yet the original flame doesn't. Yet the original flame doesn't diminish in any way. One example. Another example that we introduced last class. You have 10 rupees. You give away 5 rupees. You are left with 5 rupees. You have 10 rupees. You give away 10 rupees. You are left with 0, nothing, bankrupt. You have 10 rupees. You have 10 rupees. You give away 10 rupees and you still have 10 rupees left with you. How does that work? Purnam Ada, Purnam Idam. Another example. Love shared is love diminished. That's why we get very frustrated when love is shared, because we function on a very, very poor mathematics. What is a poor mathematics? Anything that is shared is diminished, correct? So continue the same logic into the subtler aspects of life also, you have the same problem. What is the same problem? Love shared is love diminished. Knowledge shared is knowledge diminished. On the one hand, we will talk about sharing. On the other hand, we will get very frustrated when sharing happens, correct? Sir, sharing means share the idli and dosa is okay, sir. Love and all should not be shared. How can love be shared? Idli dosa, share. Yeah. Kamar cut if you have. I don't know. What do you call kamar cut in English? I don't know. Like the candy. Candy, candy you share, but you don't share. Are you able to follow? The inconsequential things, we are so convinced that it can be shared. The beautiful things of life, we want it to keep. The beautiful things in life, we want to keep it restricted, constricted. The Upanishad Purnamada Purnamidam comes and says, love shared, love doesn't diminish. Knowledge shared, it doesn't diminish. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. Bhagavad Gita, he gives the example of the Samudra, the ocean. What is Purnam? Any amount of love that goes out of you, your love doesn't diminish. Any amount of love that is given to you, your love doesn't increase. That is Purnam. Are you able to follow? Any amount of love that goes out of you, your love doesn't diminish. Any amount of love that you receive, I'm so happy, sir. Now there are so much of people around me loving me, sir. I'm so happy now. Nobody around me is loving me, sir. I'm in such a deep sorrow. Does it ever happen like that? Purnamada Purnamida comes and says, no. Both doesn't happen. Now, these are all the practical ways of understanding this Purna. First, we explained in the technical way, the instruments, the Jiva, the consciousness, the Sachidananda and all that. Now, Upanishads only talk about this, sir. The Upanishads don't talk about the lighting the candles, love shared, love giving and all. Upanishads don't talk about. You have 10 rupees, you give away 10 rupees, you still have 10 rupees and all. Upanishads don't talk. These are all the explanatory things that we come up with. Therefore, the explanatory things that we come up with will not be given the status of the explanatory things that we come up with will be called as Arthavada, and it will not be given the status of the Vidhi. Are you able to understand the distinction now? All these are, I also said this is, but then what will be more appealing? The Arthavada always will be more appealing than the Vidhi. This, the easiness here, the easiness there, the enlivening factor here, the enlivening factor there, and all. What is love shared doesn't diminish, love received doesn't increase the quality of it. Wow, correct, sir. Beautiful, sir. Correct. Arthavada. This is called Arthavada, and Arthavada is elaborating the law, and still it holds good. So what is the law? Purnamada Purnamidam is the law. Are you okay till now? From another way, from another angle, we will explain Purnamada Purnamidam as one and the same law. We are going to take another angle now. The another angle of explanation is, take the example of the superimposition of the rope and the snake. When you take the superimposition of the rope and the snake, the properties of the original must reflect as the properties of the superimposed. Are you able to follow? In the example, the rope and the snake is a superimposition upon the rope, correct? First thing we always say, no, the boy will go into the room, the dark room, tread on the rope, comes out screaming, there's an elephant, there's an elephant, there's an elephant. Will it happen? Can a snake be superimposed? Sorry, can an elephant be superimposed on a rope? Is it possible? Illa, sir, I saw that hallucination it is. You need a different kind of a treatment after that. Not this Tarka Mimamsa Nyaya method and all. You need a different kind of a treatment after that. No, sir, I misunderstood. The boulder alone can be misunderstood as an elephant. The rope can be misunderstood only as a snake. It means what? The properties of the original, the reflection must carry the properties of the original plus something. That plus something is Nama Rupa. Therefore, when you remove when you delete the Nama Rupa, what will you end up with? Both are one and the same. That is Purnamada, Purnamida from another angle. Narayanji, are you able to follow? So, in superimposition, the properties will come plus something original will come. Plus something is called the Nama Rupa Guna. That plus something is Nama Rupa Guna Karma. Now, through knowledge, we negate the Nama Rupa Guna Karma and see what it is at the core. And when you see what it is at the core, what will you end up having? That Purnam outside is the Purnam inside, as it were. Purnamada, Purnam, Idam. It means what? From the standpoint of their intrinsic nature, both are Purnam. From the standpoint of the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Karma, one Jiva gets differentiated from another Jiva. Able to follow? From the standpoint of Chaitanyam, from the standpoint of Brahman, it is one and the same. From the standpoint of Nama, Rupa, Guna, Karma, you can find the differences between one Jiva to the other Jiva. Therefore, we make a blanket statement. Differences are due to names and forms. From this differences, we give the definition of the world. The world means Nama, Rupa, Guna, Karma. All this will be distinct and different. The Upanishad says Purnam Ada Purnam Idam. The wave and the ocean. Another example. The wave and the ocean. The nature of the wave is water. The nature of ocean is water. That's where this wave and ocean is like, like clay and pot. Like clay and pot, rope and snake. This ocean and wave is another classic example, and we don't get tired of repeating it at all. And we will never make an effort to bring up with something any original also. Why? Because it's such a complete example it is. What is it? The wave is water. The ocean is water. The wave arises from ocean, exists in ocean, and merge back into ocean. Where does the wave arise from? Ocean. Where does it exist? In the ocean. Where does it merge back? Therefore, the wave being born, the wave existing, and the wave dying, all this is nothing but various phenomena happening in water. Correct? Similarly, the birth of the jiva, the existence of the jiva, the death of the jiva, all this is nothing but various phenomena happening in Brahman. Therefore, we have no problems with birth. We have no problems with death also. Oh, birth is excitement, death is miserable. No. Why? Because the birth of the wave, what excitement? Purnam it is. Death of the wave. Oh, dead and gone, sir. Heart is broken. Where did it come from? Ocean. Where did it exist? In ocean. Where did it go back? Ocean. What are you crying about? What are you worrying about? All the worry, it means what? You are looking into the Nama Rupa and wanting to give an infinite permanent status to the Nama Rupa, and when you cannot, and when the Nama Rupa doesn't, when you fail in your attempt, you fail, and the failure gives you that worry and anxiety. Are you able to follow? You want the Purnam status to be given to the Nama Rupa. What is the Nama Rupa Purnam status? At least, sir, as long as I am alive, nothing should happen to my children. After me, I won't know, no, sir. So it means what? After me, anything can happen to them or what? It can happen before me, it can happen after me. It doesn't make any difference. It comes out, exists, and goes back. It comes out, exists, and goes back. Are you okay with it till now? Purnam. All this is the meaning of the word Purnam. Purnam. When you separate name and form from ocean, There are two things now. One is the wave, another is the ocean. This wave and ocean are two words indicating the same entity called water. This is analysis. The wave and ocean are two words indicating the same thing called water. Now, what are the two things we have now? As though there is Purnam Idam, as though there is Purnam Adaha. So, in effect, even though we say, even though in by words, there are these two things, this and that, in essence, what is it? In essence, both are same. Purnam Ada, Purnam Idam. If you remove the two names, what are the two names? If you remove the name wave, if you remove the name ocean, what remains? Water alone remains. Therefore, what is there always? Water. Now, leave that example and come to the reality and come to what the Upanishad is trying to say. What is there which is always? Purnam. Upanishad uses the word Purnam, which in some other context will be called as Brahman. So, Īśāvāsya way of describing Brahman is Purnam. Therefore, Purnam Adaha, Purnam Idam. That is Brahman. This is Brahman. Wherever that and this are proven to be the same is called Mahavakya. What is the meaning of Mahavakya? Means great statement. Why is it great? What is seen as two is explained as one. I tell you, I can go on and on and on. And I tell you, 24/7, I'll keep remembering this. I don't get tired. I don't know. So beautiful it is. So beautiful it is. What is seen as two, if it is explained as one, that is called Mahavakya. So taking the example of wave and ocean, that which is seen as two is explained as one. So therefore, there is no that and there is no this. That and this is negated completely. What is left behind? So rest of the invocatory prayer, Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnam, Udachyade, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva, Avasishyate becomes only an elaboration of the first two words, Purnamada, Purnamidam. Are you able to follow now? I don't know who's following, who's not following, but it is so clear, isn't it? It is so clear it is, isn't it? And then even that Purnamada, Purnamidam also, that Ada and Idam is also merged into two. Therefore, what are we left with? Purnam. And that Purnam, which is Advayam, that Advayam is called Advaitam. Therefore, we are left with only one thing now. What is that only one thing that we are left with? What is that only one thing that we are left with? Purnam. And that Purnam is called Brahman, and that Brahman is called God. Doesn't matter. Therefore, the Mahavakya is Purnamada Purnamidam, and the Mahavakya Purnamada Purnamidam itself explains only one thing. What is seen as Adaha and Idam is nothing but one thing. Therefore, Purnamada, Purnamidam, you remove if you have proved Adaha and Idam as one and the same, mathematically, what are you left with? What are you left with? Purnam. And who is the Purnam? That's where it takes it to the beauty. That's the logical conclusion that it has, it comes to. That's where it is. I tell you, oh God, that's where it is so inspiring. All hair stands on end at that point only. And what is that Purnam? I am that Purnam. Oh God. When I am the Purnam, why am I feeling this Apurnam? That is because of ignorance, foolishness. Get rid of that ignorance. This is the classic Upanishadic, this is the classic Upanishad style of, it doesn't solve the problem. It dissolves the one who says, I have a problem. Carefully follow. It doesn't solve the problem. Somebody is saying, I'm having a problem, I'm having the problem. Dissolve the fellow who's saying, I'm having a problem. Will there be any problem left behind? So there, it's a very beautiful technique. Huh? It's a cheating kind of technique also, no, isn't it? The fellow, there is a person who comes and says, I have a problem. Oh, you have a problem. First, we will dissolve you completely. And then ask you, is there a problem left? What will you say? Purnam. How can Purnam have a problem? Ram Tirtha puts it very beautifully. He says, Vedanta, by answering the question, it dissolves the questioner. Tamil, we have to say that, no? Kelvi கேக்குறவனே இருக்கக்கூடாது. The fellow who's asking the question should be finished first. And then we will answer. Whose question is there to answer after that? Soumitra, you follow? Have you heard of this technique? It's a very weird thing. Dissolve the questioner first. Prove the questioner as non-existent first. And then you ask the questioner, now tell me what is your question? I am agitated. Who's agitated? I am frustrated. Who's frustrated? I am worried about dying. Whose death? I am worried about loss. What loss? I'm excited. What excitement? That's why we said, oh, now, sir, last month, 2 people loved me. Sir, today, 4 people are in love with me. Does it neither increases in quality when you receive, nor does it decrease when you give, when you share. Purnam. This is Purnamada, Purnamida. And then rest of the mantras are still there, which we will study next week also. I don't know when we will come to the first one. And if Purnamada, Purnamida is very exciting, the next mantra, Īśāvāsyamidam sarvam. Oh God, that takes it to a different level. If that takes it to a different level, Kuruvanneveha karmani takes it to another level. That's why this each and every mantra of Isha is so intoxicatingly addictive. Huh? Each and every mantra is like that. After that, it gets very practical for us. But only the Purnamada Purnamidam, Īśāvāsyamidam sarvam, then comes Kuruvanneveha karmani. The invocation, the mantra 1, the mantra 2. Rest of the Upanishads will be an explanation to all these 3 again and again and again. Rest of the Upanishad becomes an explanation of these 3. So, in the invocation, we studied Shankar. Konar notes la. Today, we studied Purnamada Purnamidam. Aprom Konar notes la. Next week, what we will study? Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnam Eva Avasishyate. And then Shanti. We'll continue next week.